Yep.
Right, brilliant. All right, so welcome to risk management subject, and appreciate you coming, joining me tonight. And I think we have 3 more people coming tonight. Okay. Oh, hi, John. Welcome. We just start tonight, and this session is recorded, so you can play back the session again at any time your convenience. Okay, so the purpose for tonight is basically to discuss module 1. Every second week we will have this kind of session. I'm going to send out the invites, including the link to Zoom meeting for us to discuss this. Now, if you have any questions, you can put your hand up. You can. I'll stop my presentation, and we discuss your question. You can also type your question in the chat box, and I'm going to address that. We are going to discuss that. Okay. Just try to be a little bit more famous. Basically, this is a bit of my background in terms of professional background. Been in the various industries, in FMCG or fast-moving consumer goods, office products, consumer healthcare, and so on and so forth. Now I'm a teacher. I teach at the Western City University, Torres University, Laureate University, and TAIF. And I'm also still helping small businesses in New South Wales, basically with the business mentoring service. So that's a bit of me in terms of my professional background. Okay. Right, so it is highly recommended that you go through the learning materials, and this presentation includes some key concepts, and please find your detail in your study guide. Highly recommended you download the study guide. The study guide is quite critical for us to understand the main points of the subject. Okay, now I am not surprised if people say that, hey, what am I going to do? What should I do? Right? Week 1, this is still in week 1, and I'm confused in terms of where do I go? Where do I start? All right. Now, this is basically a number of things that I would recommend you all to do. First, download these 4 documents: study guide, assessment brief, assessment template, and also subject outline. Okay, and I would also recommend everybody to map the assessments onto their calendar, so we're not going to miss out any assessment, because I believe we all have commitments, work, family, personal commitment, study, and so on and so forth. So in order to meet the commitments, let's map them onto the calendar. That's my recommendation. And go through each module in the study guide according to the timeline. We recommend you to prepare a module to go through a module. Roughly, one module will take roughly 2 weeks as a kind of guideline. If you can do it faster, that is even better, right? Where can you find the module? Again, it is in the study guide. And the third thing is to attempt each assessment and hand in the assessments on time. In my experience with Torrens University students, I don't believe we can't do the subject, right? Especially we've got the template, the assessment template, that makes life easier. Now, there are 3 assessments in total. They're due in week 4, week 7, and week 11. Okay, they're the due dates. What do we mean by due dates? It is actually Sunday. Okay, we start the week on Monday, so we'll end on Sunday. That's when it is due. Sunday, week 4, week 7, and week 11. Okay. And what about if you still need help? Look, I'm here to help. Send me an email, right? I can look at your email on my mobile phone, so I would normally be very fast. And when I receive email, just I can answer it pretty quickly. Unless if it is a draft that I need to digest, I need a bit more time. And for non-academic support, you can contact the Student Services Center to get support from them. Okay. Okay, so that's the a bit of advice, survival kit, basically, for us to, hopefully that helps us, blending into week 1, week 2, and so on and so forth. Okay. Okay, now this subject is actually about developing the skills and knowledge required for to manage risks in a range of contexts across an organization. Okay, this could be for a specific business unit or area, or any industry setting. Okay, and it could also be applied for people who work in the position or the context of in a position or of authority and are approved to implement change across the organization. You'll notice that risk management also involves some change management as well in the organization, as well as in the business unit, program, or project area. Okay. Now, you also notice that along the way of the course, we may include some of the concepts of the project management as well, because they are quite close. Risk management basically is stemming from a number of disciplines, including project management. Okay. Right. So that's a bit of introduction. Now, objectives of the subject include these areas here: establish the risk context, identify risks, analyze risks, select and implement treatments. Okay, so they are the 4 areas that we try to achieve throughout the course. Okay, and your assessment 1 basically revolves around the first 2: establish risk context and identify risks. Right, and assessment 2 will focus on the analyze risks, and assessment 3 will focus on select and implement treatments. Right. All right. Now, how do they come up? Well, look, if we refer to the Australia standard, New Zealand standard ISO 31000:2009, we have the risk management process framework that which is basically shown on this slide. Okay? We have the establish the context as the first thing, and then after we establish the context, we assess the risks, and risk assessment actually includes these 3 areas: identify risks, analyze, and also evaluate. Okay? And following that, we have the risk treatment. Yeah? Now, along the way of the process, we have what we call as the communicate and consult with the stakeholders. And we also need to develop our monitoring and review process. Okay? Now, in terms of the standard itself, this is the standard, the recent standard that has been published back in 2009. But we should pride ourselves because the ISO, the International Quality Standard, basically adopts the standard that was developed in Australia. So Australia and New Zealand standard has basically been used by ISO. They are built on the standard that was developed by Australia and New Zealand in 2004. And the team in Australia and New Zealand thought that, well, they're pretty close. Why don't we merge the 2 standards? So that has become AS/NZS ISO 31000:2009. So that is the standard that we are using in this subject. Okay. Okay, and I think it is also important for us to understand why risk management, right? And the term risk management itself is basically has gained a strong momentum recently. The reason why we are managing risk is because the environment that we face is a constant change. Right? Let's stop there for a moment. Right? Let's think about a product, for instance. The product that satisfies the customer's need today may change next year, and so on and so forth. Right? The product that we saw last time may not be relevant again, anymore now. Okay, if you look at if you look at mobile phone industry, for instance, the product that we used 5-10 years ago would be different to the ones that we are using now. Okay? We are using pretty much a smartphone. At that time, smartphone was not developed. We're pretty much using a different brand, and now we are talking about the smartphone brands. Okay, so that reflects that the environment facing the organization is a constant change. Okay, and the second thing is that anticipating risks helps the organization formulating a better strategy. Okay, because the risk management helps the organization to anticipate what could go wrong in this plan. Okay. Now we recall that many years ago we heard that there was an organization named Lehman Brothers that was basically they basically filed bankruptcy. Okay. Well, from ethic perspective, they've been accused of manipulating the accounting system. From risk management perspective, they basically try to expand the business, increasing market share aggressively without acknowledging their own capacity in absorbing risk through expanding into the property industry. Okay, and that was one of the momentum why businesses need to think about, and starting from their actual businesses, think about we need to have a more rigorous process in risk management, because that will help us tightening our strategy through anticipating the uncertainty facing the organization. Okay. And yeah, there you go. After the global financial crisis, is another milestone that actually even make the momentum getting stronger for risk management. How about in Australia? Well, in my observation, we have organizations who are basically ready to include the risk management as part of their culture. And one of my previous jobs, the ones that I listed there, basically is quite rigorous in terms of assessing risks when we launch new product, for instance. Okay. All right, and some other organizations may still be learning about what is risk about. What is this about? Okay, what is this risk management thingy? Okay. All right, now let's have a look at what is risk. If you look at that, based on the standard that we adopt, the AIS NZS ISO 31009. Risk is defined as the effect of uncertainty on objectives. Okay, so what does it mean? If you look at these, there are a few keywords I'd like to highlight: effect, uncertainty, and objectives. Okay, what does it mean? Well, organizations always have objectives. We do have objectives. Any organizations that we belong to, definitely we have objectives, right? And how do we achieve the objectives? Definitely, we need to develop the strategy. Now, when we deploy the strategy, there may be uncertainty out there. Okay, therefore, and that uncertainty may affect our ability to achieve the objectives. Okay, that's what we mean by risk, actually. Now, the effect itself, if we zoom into the word effect, it could be positive. It could also be negative. Okay, the positive effect is normally labeled as opportunities. Okay, the opportunities in here would be from risk management perspective, if we don't seize this opportunity, our competitors may do that. Therefore, it may become our opportunity loss. Okay? Now, the effect can also be negative, or in other words, they are threats to the organization that we must manage. Okay, so opportunities, risk, or positive risks are basically something that we must capitalize. We need to think about how can we capitalize it, and so that we are not that so that it won't become an opportunity loss for us. Okay. Okay. Now, where could risk come from? It could be from internal or external parts of the organization. Okay, it could be from the corporate governance, business continuity, including succession planning. In my experience as a business mentor for small businesses, a lot of them need to learn about the succession planning because normally small businesses are coming from family businesses, and they need to make decision about the succession planning as well. So that's an example of internal. The business itself, the business situation itself, financial, regulatory, technology, human resources, and the other stakeholders, they can pose some risks for our organization. Okay, how do our organizations approach risk management? Some organizations approach that based on reactive perspective. What it means is basically once things happen, they organize their response. Hey, things are happening here. How do we manage that? Okay, so that's type of approach. Now, what we recommend is basically to be proactive in terms of approaching risk for our organization. What does it mean? That means it requires us to do some research. It requires us to deploy the strategy addressing this uncertainty. Remember, risk is about uncertainty. Okay, so we try to aside from doing research, the outcome of the research would be a number of opportunities and threats, and we try to proactively develop the strategies to influence them. Okay. So that's what we mean by proactive approach. Okay, now as mentioned to you before that in Australia and broadly speaking, globally, we also have organizations with different level of risk understanding or risk maturity, if you like. The first one is the naive. At naive level, this organization is unaware of the need for risk management. Okay, they have no structure. They have no structured approach for dealing with uncertainty. So pretty much they are reactive when things are happening. So they organize a team. Okay, how can we handle this? Okay. And then the novice basically is experimenting. The organization in this situation is still experimenting with the application of risk management techniques, tools, and approaches. And they usually assign a small number of people to champion this process. And going higher than that, we have the normalized. The normalized is basically consists of organizations that have built the management capability of risk. Okay, so they have incorporated risk management into their business process, and they have implemented this. Okay, so when they develop any plan in the organization, either a strategic plan or any other plans like marketing plan, for instance, they have incorporated risk management into most or all of their projects. Okay. And at the highest level, we have what we call as natural, where risk, this is what we call as the organization has achieved what we call as the risk-aware culture. Okay? So everyone is aware from top to the bottom level of the organization. We are all aware of the risk facing the organization. Okay. Right. And let's have a look at the next one here. By the way, guys, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to let me know. Any questions so far? Cool. Let me continue. Okay. Now, how is let's have a look at the internal context. Okay, as mentioned to you before, as we discussed before, risk includes internal and external context. Okay. Now, from internal context perspective, it is about understanding who we are as the organization. Okay, because anything in the organization can also become sources of risks. Okay, so that includes some questions such as how is risk management currently being done in the organization? So kind of the risk management practice of the organization. And the employees, how are they involved in risk management? Are they really involved in risk management, or only certain part of people involved in the risk management? And what kind of skills do employees already have, and the priorities in the organization? And in the broader context, internal context also includes the culture of the organization, quality control systems, resources, and so on and so forth. They are part of the internal. Now, understanding internal in here is quite critical. It's like asking, it's like knowing who we are, actually. It's like knowing who we are. That includes the capabilities of the organization, the assets of the organization, resources that we can manage, because we, as an organization, we do need these asset capability and resources. Okay. Now these internal and external, we are going to talk about external after this, are basically quite popular to be labeled as SWOT analysis. Okay. Internal here basically revolves around strengths and weaknesses in the SWOT analysis. So in other words, our strengths and weaknesses revolve around the asset, capability, or resources that we manage, okay, that we have if in the competition. Okay, whilst weaknesses are basically the asset, capability, or resources that we don't have. Okay? If you look at that, these are a list of assets or resources or capabilities that the organization may or may not have, and they are sources of strength or weaknesses. Okay? Okay, now let's have a look at the next one here. External context, or they are the environment that we face. Now, the external context in here, in terms of external contexts, a lot of people, scholars suggest the model that that is popularly labeled as PEST: political, economic, social, and technological. Okay, so that's the PEST model. Okay, what is this PEST, or external context, or macro environment? Macro environmental forces. They are the largest societal forces that affect everybody. Okay, who is this everybody? It's us. The organization is part of the our organization is part of the everybody. Our competitors are also part of the everybody. Our customers, our suppliers, our distributors, they are part of this everybody. So in other words, everybody may be affected by these political, economic, social, culture, and technological. Okay. Well, an example would be during the economic crisis, for instance, during the global financial crisis in 2008, 2009, well, arguably in Australia it didn't happen. We didn't have that economic financial crisis in Australia because our economy was still growing, our GDP was still growing, but consumers spent their money conservatively at that time. And that reflects that we are all affected as well by the news of global financial crisis. Okay? Consumption, which is basically part of the consumers, would also be part of the external context. Okay? If our organizations will have customers, if they reduce their consumption for any reason, such as economic reasons, for instance, well, that will definitely affect us. Okay? Political, social, racial, ethnic issues, and so on and so forth, they are part of the external context, definitely. And in terms of political, we can look at the actors in politics, such as the government, the ruling parties, the oppositions, what policies that they promote. By the way, we are facing the election next month, so pretty interesting to look at how the issues that they are debating, because they may affect us as well, either as a consumer or for our organization as well. Okay. The regulations that they produce, the bills that they promise to pass, are part of the political as well. Technological factor is quite critical. The main points I'd like to highlight in terms of technological factor is they help us making better products, or accelerating the obsolescence of some products because of the product development, the products that we are going to introduce to the customers. Okay? And governance of corporations and their financial performance, which is also part of the external context. Okay? So that's external. Now, again, guys, as discussed before, external, internal, both of them jointly become what we call as the SWOT analysis. And SWOT itself is one of the popular concepts in management: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Okay, we discussed strengths and weaknesses, which are basically our internal context. And what about the opportunities and threats? Spot on. The opportunities and threats are basically the external. So what does it mean? When we analyze past or environmental forces, the focus would be the impact of past. Okay. The impact of past could only be in two formats: positive and negative. The positive impact would be our opportunities, the opportunities that the organization can seize through capitalizing their strengths, and the other one is negative impact. Okay, the negative impact in here would be our threats plus our competitors in our threats. Okay? So that's basically, with that, we are actually analyzing how we can handle the external situation through capitalizing our internal context. Right? That is actually leading us to the SWOT analysis discussion. So here we are, our SWOT. So people suggest that actually SWOT is the strategic fit analysis between internal and external, as mentioned before, as we discussed before. What it means is we are actually asking ourselves, can we manage our internal capacity to handle the external challenges? Okay, so here strengths and weaknesses are internal, relatively to the competition. And the opportunities and threats here are basically from the environment. Okay, now if you look at that, positive, negative, and here internal, external. Okay. Okay. Now let's have a look at. Let's talk a little bit about example. Let's say I have a cafe, set up a cafe business. Okay. My cafe, my cafe is the only cafe that can spend $100,000 in advertising campaign. Is that my strength? It is my strength. Okay, because I have strong financial resources. Okay, but what about if my cafe cannot offer tasty sandwiches, for instance? Okay. Is that my weakness? It is my weakness. Why is it a weakness? Well, probably I don't have the access to strong suppliers, being a newcomer. Okay, and when I look at the environment out there, I found that a lot of people are time poor. For instance, right? The location of my business is near the office workers, for instance. Right? They are time poor. They can't spend a lot of time to have lunch, for instance. So it is an opportunity for me. With time poor customers, they don't have time to prepare their own food at home, so they may come to my cafe. Okay? And what about if I hear that a new competitor may set up their business in the next building? Is that a threat? It is a threat. Okay, so that's hopefully that gives you an illustration in terms of SWOT analysis, joining the internal and external element of the business or of the organization. Right, now let me just take you through briefly about the communication consultation. Again, as mentioned before, that communication and consultation will take part, will start since the risk management process starts. Okay, we got to develop that with the internal stakeholders as well as with the external stakeholders to get engaged with them ever since the risk management process starts. The reason for that is they have their own expertise, and we appreciate their expertise. Okay? There are some reasons. There are some reasons, or basically in more detail, in terms of consultative team approach, may help us in terms of establishing the context appropriately, helping us understanding the issues better. They bring different expertise. They help us evaluating risk, and they also secure the endorsement, and so on and so forth. So that is the reason why we have the consultation process with these stakeholders. Okay? Now, scope of the risk. Yes, we discussed with the stakeholders. We set up the risk management program, and one of the key outcomes is basically to help us scoping out the risk management. Okay, what does scope include? It includes the goals of the overall risk management program, specific analysis, time frame, and location, roles and responsibilities for every single team member involved in the risk management process, resources that we need, how do we keep the record, and the decisions, who is responsible to make this certain decision, and how it will be made, how will decisions be made. Okay? So that's basically the risk management scope, the components of a risk management scope. All right, guys, that's basically the key points that I'd like to bring to you, the highlights of your Module 1, if you refer to the study guide. Now, next step, please, guys, do not feel frustrated. We are still in the early stage of our learning journey, because I would like to recommend you to do, instead of getting, getting stuck and stuff, I would recommend you to go through Module 1, browse this SIME assessment 1. The browsing assessment 1 is a fantastic strategy. I always recommend that to all students, all learners, because that will help us understand the key points, the key words that we need to absorb when we go through the learning materials. Okay, and attempt the tasks. That's my recommendation. Okay, all right. Any questions? Oops. Any questions? Jeff, have you got any question?
No, not at the moment.
Not at the moment? Oh, okay, thanks. No. John, how about you, John? Oh, good?
I'm good.
Oh, okay. Brilliant. Well, look, thanks a lot for joining me tonight. Please stay tuned for the next module. And I look forward to be in touch with you guys, and have a good night.
Yeah, good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you.